just to help yourself, okay? Okay. 22, we talked about mortgages. Mortgages are really just loans, but they're towards real estate, and the main difference is also that they're over a very long period of time. Okay. And normally, this is another thing just for you to know, interest rates are a lot lower than a car, like normally. I mean, if you buy brand new, it's always 0% financing, right? I'm not talking about that, but if you were to buy a used car, usually the interest rate is higher because the risk for the bank is higher. Okay, a house is relatively safe. Okay. Okay, so we started with this question where the price of the house is $345. There was a 6% down, and so we had to figure out the down payment as a dollar amount. We just turned the 6% to a decimal, multiply, get our down payment. Then we had to figure out the payment, which is the formulas given to you on page 20, right? We take the price of the house minus the down payment, and then we multiply by a table rate divided by 1,000. Make sure your study sheets have 1,000 here for the payment, not 100. By the time we get to exam, usually it's not a problem anymore. We kind of figured that one out, but please make sure you change that. 345 minus the down payment, this is the mortgage. Okay, that is important. That's what you're borrowing from the bank. You multiply that by the table rate, divide it by 1,000. We got a big payment, 2,000, almost 2,000 a month. Can you imagine that? That's not including bills, water, heating, maintenance, none of that. That's just your mortgage. And then we figured out how much you pay to the bank over the life of the mortgage. You just simply take that payment times 12 to figure out how much you paid in 1 year, and then multiply it by the number of years. It ended up being $593. So can you imagine that? You borrow $324, you pay back almost double. That is actually a sad reality. Okay? The main reason that is because you're taking 25 years to pay it back. Okay? So imagine banks have thousands of mortgages out there, and all of them everybody's paying their mortgage, so they're making pretty good money. And the beauty of the whole thing is, it's not even the bank's money. Can you imagine that? They're using other people's money, giving it to you to buy your house. You're saving, so you put your money into savings. They take that, borrow it, and then get interest that way. And so they just basically hand the money back and forth. That's all they do. Next, we figured out the interest paid on the first month. Okay, this is very important. I want you to do this little visual here. If this is your payment, which is $1978.23, this is your monthly payment every single month. The first month, folks, if you could slice this up, the $1486.38 is interest. This is lowercase interest, right? And this right here, anybody remember what letter this gets? P. Yeah. Principal. So out of the first month, you pay mostly interest, okay? Find the principal paid on the first month. That is this formula right here. Principal would be payment minus whatever you paid in interest. So that's $1978.23 minus $1486.38. The principal is $491.85. That, I'm going to go arrow here. Okay. 491.85. And this is that. Remember the amortization tables? This is basically filling out an amortization table. You figure out your interest, your payment. This payment goes towards paying off your loan right now, your mortgage. So you paid almost $2,000, and only $491 of that goes towards paying off your mortgage. I was about, I don't know, I think I was 23, 24 when I bought my first house. And I was depressed when I didn't understand. Nobody had ever talked to me about this. I was like, oh, my payment, right? And then I was digging a little deeper and I understood that every payment is made up of two components. One is interest, that's you're never gonna see that money again, and there's principal, which actually pays off your mortgage. And at the beginning, it's sad. Most of it is interest, some of it is principal. And as time goes by, there's a point where it kind of tilts over, like this bar. Slowly, as you pay off more and more, the payment is going to start being more principal than interest. And then towards the end, it actually goes far, far, far over, okay? So this is just the first month. This is just the first month. A snapshot of the first month. What you did just here, okay? Next. How much interest would you have paid by the end of the mortgage? Yes, exactly. End of the mortgage is kind of saying, hey, in total interest. And you should have a formula for that from vehicle finance. It calls for payment times 12 months. It's always months times number of years. And that chunk is called total paid to the bank. You then go ahead and subtract the mortgage from it. Okay, so here we go. Payment is $1978.23 times 12 times, in this case it's 25 years, minus, what's my mortgage? 345, nope. 324, 300, yes. There we go. It's what you borrowed, right? If you followed along this right here, this first bracket, this chunk, we already calculated that in B. Right? We already figured out how much we paid the bank. So I'm just going to copy that number. And so here it is. Over the life of your mortgage, you will have paid $270,000, almost $270,000 on interest alone. Can you imagine what you could do with all that money? Right? However, you think it's depressing, right? Like, oh my goodness, I paid all that interest. What happened to the value of your home at the same time? It went up. Your house, after 25 years, is probably worth at least 2 times of what you started with, I would say, if the trend continues, okay? Sometimes even 3 times, okay? So, yes, you pay interest, but that's just the cost of ownership, right? Your main goal, though, if you plan on buying a house or a condominium, is going to be, and I'm going to ask you this several times, and the province may do that too, how can you reduce this amount? How can you make this big sum here be smaller? What can you do? Do you remember how to reduce the amount of interest you pay? You have something on your study sheet for that? How can you reduce the amount of interest you pay? Lower interest rate, okay. You can make extra payments. You can make additional payments. You can make a larger down payment. Whatever it takes to pay it off faster, guys. Remember that. If you pay it off faster, you win. That's bottom line. So make extra payments. Make lump sum payments. So let's say you get a nice income tax return. You get like $3,000 back. You can blow it all. Or you can go to the bank and say, $3,000 towards my mortgage, please. Boom. You know what the beauty is of the $3,000? If you get those 3, all of it goes towards the principal. Every single penny goes towards principal. It knocks down your It's not like your payment where a lot of it goes towards interest. So that's where it's at. Okay. I'm gonna let you do some work here. So maybe you already did a bunch, and way to go. I don't think I assigned anything. Let me just check here. 23. Well, let's skip 23 for now. I'm going to tell you to go to 26 because that's kind of like a worksheet that I made. We're going to go 26 to 32 is this section. I don't think you'll have enough time to do all of it. But go to page 26 and all the way to 32, all on mortgages, loans, okay? On top of that, make sure your study sheet formulas. If you have the luxury of space, they are on page 20. If you want to have the same formulas that you have for vehicle finance, however, they're now called mortgages. A loan is called mortgage. Copy down page 20 to your study sheet. Okay. Maybe you want to do that anyways. Maybe you want to do that anyways, and if it becomes an issue with space, that's when we remove it later on. I don't know. You are the boss of your study sheet. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Huh? Yeah, you start on 26 to 32. I will probably interrupt you at one point to talk a little bit more about mortgages, but for now I just want you to do the math, okay? So I'm going to kind of like integrate that as well. So go to 27. And so if whatever you didn't finish today, you continue that over the weekend, all right? So question 3 on page 27, you purchased a home for $498, saved up $99,600 for a down payment, and the rest is financed. Calculate the monthly payment. So I think a lot of you already know how to do this. So I will probably just go and fill this in. So you take away the down payment. If there is no down payment, guess what? You don't subtract anything. And it's 5.75 over 15 years. Okay. You should have this. 15. Right, you match 15 with 5.75. Double check this every time, okay? 827 is what I get. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. 827 per $1,000. Remember, this could be in the question, stated like that. So in this case, you have to go get it. When you just figure this out, okay, just subtracting that gives you 398, 400. This is the mortgage. Okay, this is the mortgage amount. And some of you like to stick with, hey, I'll do brackets first, then I'll multiply. Sure. So 8.27 divided by 1,000, and then you multiply that by 398, 400. It's a huge payment, I know. And that's 7.7 if you round that. It has to be 2 decimals because it's money, right? So there you have it. Every month, that's your payment. Can you imagine that? Calculate the total amount paid for the home over the life of the mortgage. Total amount paid for the home. So not to the bank, but like how much would you have paid for the house in total? So that would be including your down payment. So that's total paid to the bank plus the down payment you've made. So let's figure out total paid to the bank first. That'd be 329477 times 12 times 15 years. Let's come up with that number first. That is $593,058.60. Okay, that's total paid to the bank. So we're gonna add the down payment to it, which was $99,600. So overall, you will have paid for that house this much. Because remember, you paid the bank what belonged to them with the interest, but remember, you've also put this down at one point. So all in all, almost 700,000 by the time it's all said and done. Okay? So look for the wording. It's total paid for the home, not the bank. If it's just the bank, you would have been done there. Okay? In this case, it's for the home. Make sure you have it clearly stated on your formulas what it is that we're asking for. Miguel would like to reduce his monthly payment since it is quite high. Suggest 2 ways he could accomplish this. Getting a cheaper home is not an option. So to bring down your monthly payment, you can increase, I will talk more about that on Monday, increase the amortization period or the term. You know what, if you told me take longer to pay it off, I would be fine. Example, let's go with 20 years instead of 15 years, right? Your payments would go down because you're taking longer to pay off. Okay. Another would be shop for a lower interest rate. This is actually study sheet entry. Like if you have this, how to reduce your payment, this is it. The other one is increase your down payment. So those are 3 ways that you can, what you can do to bring down your payment if it's too high. Calculate the amount of interest and principal paid on the first month's payment. This is the key here. So I is the mortgage, which is $398,400. I'm already just gonna go ahead and divide my interest rate by 100. Okay, so that's it, and you divide that by 12. When you compute that, you get 1909 exactly. Okay, so this is the interest you paid the first month. To find the principal, you take your payment and you subtract that amount, and that is 1,385.77. Okay, so they combine to your payment every time. And here is the other one. Other than the down payment, what are 2 one-time additional costs a homeowner can expect? I'm going to refer you, I'm going to ask you to write down page 33, has more info on this. We're going to go there right now. Okay, you can pick any 2 of those. I would say on your study sheet you should have at least 3 of these. So let's go to 33. Make sure you highlight this so that you know we've covered it. So you're not wondering like, wait a minute, what's up with this? So initial startup costs when purchasing a home, page 33. There are 2 categories. There are something we call one-time, also known as closing costs. It is recommended that one saves up 2 to 4% of the purchase price, just in case. Like you need to have extra money other than the 5 for these extra costs. I'm going to highlight the most important ones. Home inspection fee is something that I would strongly recommend. You pay a couple $100 for that service, but you get someone that's licensed to come and check out the house you're about to buy. They go in the attic, like if this is the ceiling, they go into the attic and check for leaks. They check for insulation. They check for wiring. Is the wiring up to date? Because sometimes the insurance companies will not insure your house because your wiring is old. It's aluminum. That's a no-no. Okay? So pay for the inspection. It really saves you from buying a house that has issues. They check for leaks in the basement, if there's cracks in the walls, all of that, they check for that. And if you put that in your contract when you're about to buy, you say this in the contract, talk to your lawyer about this. They usually know about this. They say, I will buy the house if it passes the inspection. Because technically, once you put your bid in and the seller selects your bid, you cannot back out anymore. Legally, they can hold you against it, right? So if you have this little clause in there, home inspection needs to be passed, then if it doesn't pass, then you're out, okay? Another one is this one right here, land transfer tax. We're gonna calculate that next week. That is a huge first time, one-time expense, okay? Another one, you can pick which one you want to, I'm going to for sure say lawyer fees, because most of the time you need to have a lawyer involved in the transaction, and it's going to cost you a couple $100. I can tell you that already. I will say this one, survey certificate. You should insist on the survey certificate. It makes sure that, it doesn't say it here. Make sure that the fence of your property is actually on the property line and not like into your neighbor's property, because that could be an issue down the road. So someone actually comes and measures everything, and yep, the fence is exactly on the property line. And so that survey certificate ensures that. It costs you money, right? Go to 34. I will just highlight maybe two more on this page. There's moving expenses. I think all of you could relate to that, moving expenses. And maybe any immediate repairs. Maybe before you move in, there's like a leak in the roof and you've agreed to purchase it, but for less, right? You can say, hey, your roof is leaking. I'll still buy your house, but you got to give me a $20,000 discount or something. But then you would obviously have to pay for that right away before you move in. I at least would do that. Okay. So these are additional costs which you can refer to. Maybe go to your study sheet and just say one-time costs, page 33 for now. And then later on you beef it up, you make it nice. One-time costs, it says it right here on the top of this page, because there will be ongoing costs down the road. This is one time. And the highlighted ones are the ones that I recommend. If you want all of these on there, go for it. I just wouldn't recommend that. Okay. Maintenance. If you just listen for now, you don't have to write anything down if you just listen, because I will ask you from time to time, and the province will needs you to know this as well. I'm going to just ask you to go, I have a bunch of pictures, because you don't own, you're not like probably doing maintenance on your house. So let's go in 81. Go to page 81. I'm not going to talk about the sewer system right now. That's going to take a little longer because every part of the city has a bit of a different sewer system. I will just talk about some of the very important things around your house. Okay? A lot of houses, not all houses, have something called a sump pump. Okay, so under your basement floor, there's a little, it's almost like a big bucket. And the water that collects under your basement goes to this part right here, and there's a pump in there, and every time it senses the water going at a certain level, it will pump out. I don't know if you've ever seen those hoses on the side of the houses, like they're like black, corrugated, and sometimes they have them like on the sidewalk, which is they're not supposed to do, by the way. But that's water coming from underneath your basement. It's very important that you check every spring, especially that this thing works. How can you check that? You're listening, right? Two ways. There's a little float in there that you can lift, and then it will start working. It will start pumping. Or you can fill water, like grab a bucket and fill this thing up and see if the pump goes on, okay? If you know it's working, you're good, okay? Then, because if it doesn't, there's lots of gravel under your basement. This thing will slowly fill with water, your whole, like under your basement. So you're gonna start seeing a lot of condensation in the basement. It's gonna be very muggy. And then possibly it will come into your house at some point if it goes too high. So sump pump, check it. Some older houses don't have it. I will explain that later on. There's another side view of the sump pump on 82. Okay. Another maintenance item you should do around your house on page 82, something called the window wells. So some of you probably recognize this, like in your basement windows have like a metal shield around it. Okay, you should make sure that inside these wells that it's clean, no leaves, no debris in there, because the water is supposed to sink in. Watch this. There's technically a pipe in there going straight to the bottom of your basement. So the water can run under your basement. It doesn't go into your window. But if this is full of leaves and debris and plants, you got to remove that, right? So that's another preventative item. Can I say one more thing here on 81? You see this? In the winter, when it gets colder, this thing often still works. It pumps. But if you have that hose on, it's going to freeze. And so it will not be able to pump out. The pump will just keep going, and it will freeze. So you should put it like it's like a 4-inch hard pipe on your sump pump instead of the hose in the spring or in the winter time, okay? I want to go home already. Another one. Here, before we go, 84, important. If you see your roof, if you look at your roof, you should inspect it regularly. And one of the shingles is missing or flipped over like this, that is a big sign you need to probably look into replacing your roof. If you see it curling up, if you start seeing the corners curling like that, that's a sign you need to probably look into replacing your roof. This is an extreme example right here. This is way overdue. You should not wait for this because that could already mean a leak in your house, okay? Thank you guys. We're gonna do more maintenance. So I talked about one-time costs and maintenance in addition to mortgages.